You've probably seen this ad many, many, many times, right? You don't need keto, you don't need paleo, you don't need intense exercise, you don't even need to fast or even do a vegan diet. And you can burn fat and get shredded. So please comment down below if you've seen this ad before.
The best way to burn fat and get shredded is not keto, not paleo, and it's definitely not intense exercises like this.
I mean, people must be buying this program because they're advertising a lot and they wouldn't spend all this money on advertising if they weren't selling this program. And it's your typical, let's shock people into clicking this ad so you can maybe just possibly not have to do anything and lose your weight. You can also eat pizza instead of salad.
Which one do you think I'm having for dinner tonight? Well, it's not this.
As long as you align your actions with the body type. So, what does V Shred recommend to eat? Well, here's an example. For breakfast, you can have oatmeal and fruit. You can have a mid morning snack with an apple and nuts. For lunch, you can have a salad with chicken and then an afternoon snack, carrots and hummus. And then for dinner, teriyaki chicken with vegetables and some berries. And you can even have popcorn and you can have bread on this diet, as long as you eliminate the added sugars and processed foods. So let me just do a little bit of a deep dive, not a very long deep dive, but into something that's very, very important, just so you don't end up doing a program and wasting your money and then chalking it up to another thing that just didn't work in the hopes that maybe this is the answer that I can finally lose weight. Maybe I'm eating too healthy or reducing too many carbs, or maybe I'm exercising too much, right? 80% of your results are going to be diet and 20% are related to exercise. What does that actually mean? And is it actually true? And I'm going to tell you that it's not actually true. It really depends on another thing, okay? Because there's two things about diet. It's, of course, what you eat. And if you know anything about fat burning, it's really tied into the insulin component part, right? If you lower your insulin, then your body can now stop storing fat and you can start burning your fat. And that's basically really about lowering your carbohydrates. The lower that you bring your carbohydrates, the more fat you're going to burn. Well, it doesn't always work. So there's this other variable of when you eat, okay? Because there are a lot of people who I know who go on the ketogenic diet, low carb diet, and they're healthy foods. They don't lose any weight. Of course, when you look at the frequency of eating, they're eating 3 meals with 3 snacks, but that's all good food. So why can some people lose weight and yet other people can't? It has to do with this one thing, and that is insulin resistance. If they have insulin resistance, which, by the way, is about 70% of the population, the people that are successful just by reducing carbohydrates, just like the simple sugars and some of the refined foods, that is a much smaller percent of the population, but they can actually lose weight because they don't have insulin resistance. Somehow they never got it. Maybe it's part genetics. Maybe they haven't lived on so many carbs and sugar like the rest of us. But the point is, the more insulin resistance you have, the more you have to not just lower your carbs, but the more you have to do infrequent eating. That's called intermittent fasting. Now, if we just take a look at the two main things that increase insulin, carbohydrates and the frequency of eating, as in a lot of different meals, a lot of different snacks. If we just take a look at those two things and we compare them, I'm going to tell you right now, the frequency of eating and the snacks is way, 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 way more important and way more significant than just lowering your carbs, because there are a lot of people that can pretty much eat whatever they want and they're still able to lose weight, but they only eat just 1 meal a day with absolutely no snacking, versus a much smaller percent of the population which start reducing their carbs and they haven't introduced intermittent fasting yet, but some of those people will lose weight. Okay, but not a large percentage. And when we're talking about this V Shred guy, he's pretty much focusing on a very small percent of the population that can lose weight just by reducing some of the junk foods and reducing the added sugars and the processed sugar, because he allows fruit and things like that. I mean, the reason I know this is because my initial diet was very similar to his. I didn't recommend intermittent fasting. I did recommend these snacks, apples and nuts, lowered fat, and a very similar diet. And I was successful to some degree. I wouldn't say that it was a high level of success like it is now. So if you wanted to know, can you lose weight and eat what you want. Yes, you can. For a certain small percent of the population who does not have insulin resistance, they just need to cut down a little bit on their carbs. But for everyone else that has insulin resistance, which is like 70% of the population, they're going to have to do fasting, like one meal a day. And they will definitely experience results. But my whole point is, why not combine intermittent fasting with the reduction of carbohydrates? Because it's not just about weight loss, it's about reducing your inflammation, it's about removing fat from the liver, it's about looking good as you lose weight because your skin is better and you're not putting all these other things in your body that don't contribute to healthy cells. It's also about reducing your risk for all the other chronic degenerative type problems. However, in this video, I really just wanted to differentiate the different variables in losing weight so you can kind of wrap your wits around it and understand why some people lose weight on a certain diet and others will not, and what they have to do. And for a lot of people, especially with insulin resistance, it's not just lowering your carbohydrates. It will help. It will actually get rid of like 2 weeks of water weight. But unless you add that intermittent fasting, which is way, way, way more significant than just lowering your carbs, you probably are not going to see a big change. So, my suggestion is also not to just lower your carbs, it's to increase the quality of your food. That's called healthy keto, and implement the intermittent fasting, as well as the right exercise. And also, as a side note, the reason why some top athletes can get away with eating a lot of sugar is because the exercise stimulates the mitochondria and kind of neutralizes to some degree some of this sugar effect on your mitochondria, which I don't recommend it, but just so you know, exercise I think is really important, not just for weight loss, but for stimulating your mitochondria, which is at the heart of so many health problems out there. Now, if you really wanted to know how to do healthy keto, just the basics, you should watch this video right here.